we evolve, we get smarter and smarter. And like now, many of us humans have figured out, like, oh, wow, breath work is medicine. It's a form of medicine that we can use, like, at any given moment to help ourselves feel better. And it's a tool that's out there, and more people are realizing, oh, this really does help. Once you've experienced it, it's hard to go back.
KarmaHub, exploring healing, wellness, and the practitioners that offer it. So you majored in biology and microbiology. You hold a degree in dental hygiene. You're a member of the Conscious Leadership Group. You founded 6 businesses, and you hold a germ defense product patent, which I think is very interesting. So now you're a certified Reiki Master, Energy Master, and a Breathwork facilitator.
Yes, I'm also a graduate of the Hoffman Institute.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So how and why are you doing what you do now? It sounds like you have quite a diverse background.
I do. And I feel like it's been all lessons and learnings in the process to bring me to my zone of genius. I started the love of human anatomy and physiology when I was a young child, funny enough, at a dentist appointment where I was fascinated with how the body worked. And all of those experiences through business, through creating, through learning all the different lessons in my life has gotten me to this point where I know that I'm in the right place and all the lessons have been for a certain reason. And I've come out on the other side going, oh, this is what life is about. This is what energy is about. And let's master how to work with energy. I firmly believe that our thoughts create the energy that's stuck in our bodies. So it's working through our thoughts. How it works is we first get the thought, or maybe we feel energetically not aligned. Something feels really uncomfortable. Then our mind automatically goes into stories. And then those stories become feelings. And then those feelings become emotions. And they get stuck in our body. And
So you're
that
saying that
forms.
emotions actually cause kind of a blockage of energy.
Mhm.
And
Because you could, yes, because you can have a thought and not be attached to it at all and not have any feelings about it. Let's say this carpet is white. Okay, so the carpet's white and there's no emotion attached to it. So I'm not holding on to that energy. It's just kind of like, okay, there goes the thought and here it is and it's released. It's when we attach a feeling or we create a story around it. Um, let's take for example, someone said, maybe your mother said this to you, and you take that and you create a story about it. Then it produces a feeling, and that feeling then causes an emotion, and that is energy finding a place, tension energy finding a place in our body. Now it's true for both joyous and the ones that are not so nice thoughts. So if we are energy containers, whether it's joy, sadness, grief, um, any of those emotions, like we want to be able to move them through so we can create more space and let our body release them instead of holding on to it.
so do you feel that it's the energy work or that that allows you to move that energy, or it's the breath work, or a combination of the two?
I think the combination of the two makes quite a bit of difference.
Okay.
Um, Breath work is something that people can practice at home at any time. You can do it when you are on the move, on the go. It's just being present at the time. And let's go back into the science a little bit. Our bodies function in 2 different ways. One is in sympathetic, which is fight, fright, survival mode, or parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. And we're going to go into the science of that. And our bodies can only heal when we are in parasympathetic mode. We are programmed to be in sympathetic. And through the knowledge of where you are at the present moment, because life is going to happen out there, life is going to happen. And we are going to be needing to use our sympathetic mode because we need to get things done. We need to, fight for the things that we believe in. But then we also need to give our bodies a break and shift consciously into parasympathetic where it can rest and digest and let that energy move through. Our bodies in parasympathetic can heal itself. So if people who are struggling with chronic fatigue, chronic pain, emotional uh, blocks, you can use breath and you can use shifting into parasympathetic to release that tension from our body. So it's kind of like a yin and a yang where, our thoughts produce our mind produces a thought that maybe it's not a beneficial thought, and that energy gets trapped in our body, and then that energy is trapped in our body and our bodies are uncomfortable, then so our mind goes back. It's like a constant loop, right? So I believe in hitting it from both ends. So during an energy treatment, knowing what that specific client, the blocks are, and reaffirming some affirmations for them where that energy is being released, and talking to the body.
Yeah,
I
because so
have,
many people these days they live in fight or flight, or they're in fight or flight on a very regular basis. And
yes,
I guess by doing the work that you do, you're able to get them back in a more relaxed state, so to speak, and it's
parasympathetic, yes.
parasympathetic, in a
Mhm.
state that allows your body to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and the body has capability to heal itself. You give it enough time in parasympathetic that your body will function that way. They were designed, your body was designed to heal itself. Um, and it's not to knock Western medicine because I believe Eastern and Western medicine in combination, you get phenomenal results. But the root of the problem is the thought process. And these are patterns that, whether it's genetically, and they have found now that there's 17 generations of DNA patterned from our ancestors. So we're carrying these things around in our body. And so, yes, we are made to be in sympathetic, but that doesn't mean that we can't make a conscious choice. And taking time to separate it, because you can't just go living life in parasympathetic. I mean, it would be wonderful to be living on an island that way, but it's training your body like Olympic athletes do, training your body to shift from one to the other without being stuck. And when you are stuck, that's when the tension, that's when the stress, that's when you feel like you've had enough, and your body tells you because it says, whoa, I'm holding on to too much energy. And taking the time for self-care to do breath work, to do energy work, whether it's with a practitioner or on your own, makes a lot of difference in releasing that energy from your body.
So, have you had any blatant non-believers be blown away by the work that you've done?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and I had one come in the other day, and he said, I just don't understand it. Like my mind can't wrap around what is going on here. I come in a lot of pain. I come in with a lot of anxiety, and after the session, I feel wonderful, and I don't understand what's going on. And um and he kind of joked like, are you, like, it seems like you're some kind of a witch doctor. And I'm like, no, the breath was the medicine. I'm no kind of doctor, not a witch doctor, no kind of doctor, but it's actually taking the time to calm your body down to where it can do what it's supposed to do. um there's so many people that come in and say, what was that? Like, I came in with a level 10 pain and I'm walking out with a level 0 pain. How can that be? And it really is that when you shift your body into parasympathetic, and some of these bodies are, when they're at 10, they're screaming, right? Like, I need a break. And it's just that break that gives your body the time to say, we can relax. And all that energy releases, and you're not holding on to it anymore.
So I guess a couple weeks back we connected and we
Mhm.
worked a little bit with breath work, and it did a whole lot for me. So much so that oftentimes in the morning in the shower, I'll do breath work, and it just kind of energizes. Well, it puts me in the right state to start the day, but it really makes a big difference. And I'd love to see more people do this, and it is nice. I'm hearing of more and more people that offer breath work, because it works. I think it's important, but it's so very simple, and for me, it changes my state in the morning. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Yes, I often find that it helps change the trajectory of your day. If you start out with self-care practices and breath work, including energy work, and this is for everybody. You don't have to be a certified Reiki master to do healing on yourself. For example, it's just very natural for us. Let's say your child falls, you go right there with your hands and you cup it. These are our
We
healing
almost have an
hands.
instinct for it already,
Yes,
and we've
yes.
kind of unlearned that to some degree, and now,
Exactly. Yeah. And this is, the ancient times, breath and laying of hands was the healing modality. So it came before Western medicine, and then Western medicine came. And now we've got the combination of both to be able to utilize for our maximum benefit.
I'd,
Um,
I'd love to see a lot of these different modalities um, reframed, because a lot of them are referred to as alternative methods, right?
yeah.
I think they should be complementary.
Complementary. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
That
what it
would be
needs to be,
great.
because they so are, right.
They
Uh,
so are.
because a lot of this alternative methods, they've actually been around much longer than
Medicine.
the chemical pill,
Yes,
right?
yes,
So
yes.
if anything, Western medicine is the alternative medicine. But
Right.
I'm just being
Yeah.
funny, but you get where I'm
Yeah.
saying.
It's absolutely true.
The two complement each other, and I'd love to see that almost the stigma of alternative medicine go away, because I think it should be a part of the everyday life and not alternative. It's a part of our regimen of
Yes.
health and wellness.
Well, I work with cancer patients. I work with Life with Cancer. And so, in many cancer institutes, they do recognize this as a form of therapy for the patients.
Yes.
Yeah. So, thank goodness, like medicine is coming around, people are coming around to it. And as people hit more and more walls with what Western medicine, they are turning to Eastern medicine, more holistic
Right.
practices as well.
Something I want to hit on. It's just kind of a trend that I've noticed. I've been delving into this in this world here for a couple years, and I am noticing that this is becoming more mainstream. More and more people are starting to hang their hat on these methods. I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are. Why why has this shift taken place? I think of, my parents' generation, and I feel like there was not very much like self-help, um, self-care, self-wellness. You wouldn't take courses to help yourself feel better. It was more about nose to the grindstone. Um, and now people are starting to open their eyes and be like, hey, I can be more enlightened or more free or feel better. Or do you have any insights as to why that trend is occurring, and what's taking place there?
Well, it absolutely is occurring. I mean, many of the top companies are using energy and breath work corporately, and it's making a huge difference. why we didn't, like, there's so many things that we didn't do then that we were not as enlightened. I mean, who would have known that our parents like, would they have known when they were kids that there was going to be something as computers, or did we even think that it's Bluetooth? I think as we evolve, we get smarter and smarter, and like now many of us humans have figured out, like, oh wow, breath work is medicine. It's a form of medicine that we can use, like, at any given moment to help ourselves feel better. And it's a tool that's out there, and more people are realizing, oh, this really does help. Once you've experienced it, it's hard to go back
I
not
agree
to do
100%.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you experience feeling good, it's like if you went away to a tropical island and it was so beautiful. Once you've experienced that feeling, it's hard to forget it. And it's hard to, like, you always want to go back, right? Yeah, and breath work is, it's at your fingertips. You can do it with each breath.
Hmm.
And intentionality. I want to hit about intentionality, because a lot of people go through the motions of stuff without setting an intention. And our bodies get confused because our bodies are listening. And so when you go about your day, so let's say, Lauren, you were talking about how you, after our work together, that you started breathing in the morning, doing some active breath work and moving some energy through.
Yes.
uh, Setting intentions on what you're doing makes the difference. Like, you can just breathe, or you can say, I'm breathing to move some stuck energy out. Either way, you're doing the same thing, but intentionality is where it begins. So let's say, for example, you go into the shower. Like, imagine all that stress energy just being washed off by that water. So use that water moment. You're going to have to take a shower anyways, but as you step in, say that intention that you're using that water to cleanse your energy, and then do some breath work to give your body that space to be able to move it through. Because you can have that intention and then hold your breath and it's not going anywhere, right?
Right.
And so, like, using conscious breathing to push it down and down your feet. And like, you practice it a few times, and each time you step out, you go, wow, I feel so great after that shower, or an invigorating shower. It changes the meaning altogether. Because
Absolutely.
you, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love starting my day like that. And then
Hmm.
ideally, I have some time in the middle of the day, maybe sometimes it's lunch hour, to also go through some exercises. Maybe it's a meditation, maybe it's breath work, maybe it's affirmations, or, just to kind of reset in the middle of the.
Yes. There are so many different types of breath that you can use, whether it's and in my website with one of the blogs, I have a PDF where it's a mood to breath guide. So whether you're feeling anxious, or if you're feeling excited, or if you're feeling sad, all of the different moods that you can have, there's different breath works to settle that down. And you may be going through a difficult time. Many of us, when we get hit with something shocking, our natural inclination is to hold the breath. And so then it just stops the energy flow. And then we get into our fear cycle. So if we take a moment to pause and let that breath, because life is going to happen, right? And so let that kind of filter through before you jump into it from a fear mode, and let that breath, let it settle in a little bit. I heard something wise before she told me, if there's a storm and a tornado going on about you, the last thing you do is move. You, like, sit still and you wait for things to settle down, right? In the midst of the chaos. And how do you get through the midst of the chaos? Through breath, calming your nervous system down so that your mind can come up with a solution from a calm point, not in a fear point, from love.
But I am curious, as a wellness facilitator, what is your greatest challenge?
My greatest challenge when I first started was getting out of my own way, because I have such a huge science background that, it was all like, could this be true? Could this be true? Can you move energy out of the body? Can you heal somebody through the touch of hands? And so getting out of my own way has helped open up the doors so that the right clientele can come and flow towards me.
So when you're working on someone, uh, what do you feel? Like I know you do a lot of the energy work. Um, when you're doing that and you're tapping into your intention, like how does that feel to you in your body? Like how do you know when things are shifting or being effective or moving in your client?
Um, so I have this rare thing that happens in my body, and it's mirror touch synesthesia. So my body, and this is through a lot of training now and recognizing what it is, because I used to go around holding this and go, why am I feeling this? And now I recognize it's because this person is holding it there. So I have what's called mirror touch synesthesia. So I feel inside my body. I can, with my five senses, and it kind of alternates. I can see, hear, feel the tension that they're having in their body, in my body. And so I know where to go. I may feel pain in my left hip. And so then I go directly to their left hip. And they may say, like, my left hip has been bothering me. How did you know? Uh, and so when I put my hands on it, the things that I can feel that the clients can feel is bubbling up. There can be heat. There may be like roller coasters of energy. Um, Most people feel what's happening inside their body. They may not feel everything that I feel, but they do feel the things that are happening in their body. Some people have what's called tetany, where they have little slight convulsions because there's big releases of energy and it's kind of uncontrollable. Uh, but nevertheless, whether you feel 5% or 100%, you always leave feeling so much better than you came in.
Yeah, if you remember, I actually had tetany going on in my hands. And it's just a very strange sensation. It feels like pins and needles,
Hmm.
and
Sometimes it's like lobster claws.
yeah, your hands just they kind of freeze. So that was an interesting sensation. Um, I mean, I in addition to that curiosity that occurred to me, I had many like noticeable benefits afterwards. I just felt amazing. So it was wonderful to get that session from you. It really was helpful.
Thank you.
So if this type of work were embraced by more people, how do you think humanity would benefit from it?
Oh, I believe energy and frequencies, like the more that we can all up level our frequency, more come from a place of love instead of fear, like it changes everything in the landscape of the world.
Yeah, for me, I didn't believe in any of this stuff. And then I had some people do some energy work on me, and I could feel it, and it was impossible in my mind that that was occurring. And of course, with the rabbit hole that I continued to go down, there have been uh, many moments when it's just very clear that we're all affected by frequency. I've had some fairly severe hypersensitivity to electromagnetic waves, frequencies, specifically after I had my Reiki 2 attunement. And that was, I really thought I was losing my mind because I was hypersensitive to so many different things, whether it was fluorescent bulbs or transformers or microwaves or appliances or whatever. Um, and I was kind of like in holy shit mode, kind of like, really? Is this real? Is this, of course, I went to my father, who's a doctor, and dad was like, well, you're just losing your mind. Um, and I,
It's frequency, it's physics.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still hard to grasp for most. It's still hard to grasp for me, and I've been in this world for a while. So I get why it's hard
Yeah.
to grasp
Well,
for others.
with every session, even if it's the same client I've been seeing, every session, I'm in awe as well. Like every time something new happens, something magical happens, and you're like, whoa. And so, what it has taught me is to just kind of shoot the roof on these limiting thoughts because there's so much out there that we don't know. And this is the science of energy, it's physics, it's studying frequencies. I mean, if you think about, like, if you put a pebble, if you know, throw a pebble into the lake and you see how it ripples out, that's exactly what's happening
That's right.
energetically too with our frequencies. And if we can um, be responsible for our own energy and what we put out in the world, and if many more of us did that, like, our frequencies would all rise. And it's in those
Collectively,
collectively.
yeah.
Um, eh, but, you know, in that higher frequency, that's when problems are solved. Like, our problems are not solved in the same frequency that it was created. Like, you've got to come up and outside of it,
Right.
right? And so I believe that we can have a lot more ahas on how we can solve some of these major things that's happening in the world by calming our nervous systems through breath work, and then being in that state going, okay, how can we come to a good resolution, a win for all?
Wonderful.
And that's in companies as well.
So when people ask what you do for as your profession, are you ever met with any resistance or disbelief? I mean, with friends or family, um,
Oh, sure, absolutely.
you get the eye
And
rolls.
yeah, like, all right, what, yeah, yeah. Or they just, there's just pure curiosity, like they've never heard of an energy practitioner before,
Right.
which is understandable, and so they're curious to what's that. Um, and the eye rolls, and some people who clearly could benefit from it have a resistance to it, and it is just that they're just not ready, right? Like, you've got to be ready to be open to something else more than you know. Like, if and I'm not saying that that's a wrong thought process, but what if when we were growing up and someone told you, like, that's the color, this color is blue, and you're like, no, it's not. How could that be? How could that be blue, right? So if we just kind of open up our mind to
Mhm.
what's beyond what we already know and say, let me be curious, whether you find out this is not for you or whether you find out this is amazing for you, I can't believe that breath work wouldn't benefit just everybody, and energy work, whether you're doing it on your own or having somebody do it for you. It's just about coming back to self and coming back to where your nervous system is.
I know you kind of hit on this a bit, but I mean, how can we kind of encourage more people to put that toe in the water?
I think that more companies would need to give this out for their employees, because already they're having a tough time through, you know, home and work, and, you know, the work life balance and the stresses that they're carrying in their bodies, which make them less productive. Right. And so when they are feeling better, when you feel better, you heal better. So it's going to help businesses in terms of preventative maintenance, right? Where they're going to have less sick days, they're going to have better outcomes with their job productivity. They will come to better solutions that way. The benefits doesn't stop.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. You know, kind of go to the business owners, and the business owners can really largely spread the word of these practices that will help their business, that will help the efficiency of their people,
And the
right?
productivity.
Productivity, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Like,
and
if
in doing
you
that,
mhm.
that kind of normalizes um, these methods, these
Hmm.
practices, and in
Hmm.
doing that, I think more people will have the notion to step into it, because
Right.
a lot of it is still, I mean, a lot of people are very foreign to these practices and they think it's unusual or weird. Um, but if
Well,
your boss says to do it and you do it and it's effective, I feel like that will, again, normalize those practices, and the word can spread faster in that.
right. And people who have a disbelief in that, well, number one, if you're alive, you're breathing. It's breath,
Right,
right?
right.
And
Yes.
so we're talking about breath. It's about training your mind through your breath, or training your body through your breath. So there's nothing woo woo about that.
Right.
And
Yes.
yeah. And so if somebody were to say, whoa, what is this? That's exactly what it is. And it's also being in control of what state your nervous system is in. So I don't know what adult has not gone through some kind of stress, but everybody who's familiar with stress, like, why would you want to stay in that state continuously, right? And if you had a tool as simple as controlling how you breathe, or just taking in some deep breaths to help control that, like, why wouldn't you use that? Like, if you want to stay stuck in that kind of stress in your body, like, it doesn't make any sense. So just in terms of reducing stress levels through your breath is probably a key point for people and businesses to say, hey, we need to jump on this breathwork wagon. Yeah. Hmm. And they will get better results in the productivity and also the choices, because people will be making decisions based on knowledge and not fear.
And how has this affected your view of the world?
I now come out of love. I believe that love is the most powerful energy. I was so programmed to move about the world from a place of fear that I've just completely switched that to now I come from love.